Welcome back to another episode of Dream and Leap's Masterclass, a series that's designed to shortcut your knowledge and understanding of the key people, the key models, the key practices that make for all-round better leadership. Jumping straight back in, we turn our attention this episode to another outstanding female leader and another of my top 5 all-time favourite leaders, the wondrous Indra Nooyi. Now, Indra Nooyi has been on my leadership like list for over a decade already, but in the past couple of years, I've come to understand her backstory a little bit better, having read her 2021 biography, My Life in Full, shortly after it got published in 2021. It's likely many of you out there will already be familiar with Nooyi, but those of you that aren't, here's a little breakdown of who she is and what she's accomplished as one of the most groundbreaking female leaders ever to grace the planet. Famous for many things these days, not least a New York Times best-selling biography detailing her leadership journey, Nooyi is perhaps best known for her decade or more in charge of the global consumer goods company PepsiCo. She led the company first as CEO and then as both CEO and chairman from 2006 to 2018, having joined the company all the way back in 1994. Along her journey, Nooyi's held such lofty titles as Senior Vice President for Strategic Planning, Senior Vice President for Corporate Strategy and Development, and Chief Financial Officer, amongst other things. Now, for those of you who may see Pepsi and think of coloured sugar water, you aren't wrong. But the company is much more than that these days, and a lot of that is down to Nooyi herself, and we'll share more of that shortly. Of Indian American descent, Nooyi was born and raised in Madras, otherwise known as Chennai today, a rich cultural district city located in the southernmost part of India. A woman of absolute ambition, she moved across continents in 1978 to attend Yale School of Management in the United States, where she completed her Masters in Public and Private Management. A clear strategic thinker, she cut her management teeth first in Johnson & Johnson before going on to carve out a highly successful career at the prestigious Boston Consulting Group. It was here, followed by a brief stint at the telecoms giant Motorola, that Nooyi refined her strategic brilliance. Now, as an interesting side note, Nooyi attributes much of her strategic thought process not to her extensive career and qualifications, but first and foremost to her mother, who when raising Nooyi and her sister as young children would routinely set them strategic tasks and puzzles to solve. Nooyi speaks with love, affection and admiration for her non-educated mother of humble roots as the person alongside her grandfather as the most responsible for laying the key foundations for her ultimate rise to career success. Joining PepsiCo in 1994, Nooyi climbed to the eventual top of the pile in just under a decade within the company. She was appointed CEO in 2003, and in doing so became only the 5th person to hold that title in the public company's 44-year history. Nooyi is the epitome of a glass ceiling breaker, as not only was she the first female to hold the CEO title in this American public company giant, but she was also the first non-American and the first non-white person to hold this position. It's little wonder she was accepted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 2021. Getting back to PepsiCo though, like I said at the outset of this episode, this isn't a company that simply produces brown sugar water. Today, PepsiCo plays home to some of the world's biggest and most consumed brands. The company is a sprawling FMCG powerhouse, covering everything from breakfast goods to sports isotonic drinks. And much of this range, and its subsequent bottom line success for the company, can be attributed back to Indra Nooyi. She first led the $3.3 billion acquisition of Tropicana into the PepsiCo family in 1998. And then as CEO, she navigated the merger with Quaker Oats and the company's subsequent acquisition of Gatorade. All of this on top of successfully divesting the Tricon side of the company earlier in her tenure. Tricon comprising of assets like KFC, Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. It's safe to say that Indra Nooyi is one of the most successful, but also one of the highest acknowledged female leaders of the modern era. She was listed on Wall Street's 50 Women to Watch list in both 2006 and 2007, and in the same time frame was featured in Times Magazine's 100 Most Influential People lists. In 2003, she was ranked the third most powerful female by Forbes, and in 2009 and 2010 alike, she was awarded the coveted #1 slot by Fortune, the world's most powerful female indeed. All of this is little wonder though, as during her tenure as CEO, the company grew its profits by more than 80%, taking annual revenues to more than $63 billion and net profits to north of $6.5 billion under her charge. What's interesting to note about Nooyi isn't so much what she achieved, which is beyond impressive. Rather, it's how she went about achieving this growth and success. At the start of her tenure as CEO, Nooyi brought forth an ambitious strategy that would change the way PepsiCo looked at the world of business. It would move the company beyond profits and annual revenue tracking and instead begin the process of looking inward at how profits and revenues get generated. Through the launch of her transformative strategy, labelled Performance with Purpose, Nooyi was able to refocus the way in which PepsiCo delivered on its targets. As she said upon her strategic directions launch, performance, the achievement of financial results, matters most when it's combined with purpose, the improvement of people's lives. And with that, her strategic direction centred PepsiCo's efforts around 3 core pillars: product, planet, and people. Product is even to this day about delivering strong financial performance through the transformation of the company's portfolio and the inclusion of healthier options. Planet is about delivering results in a way that is sustainable over time, with particular emphasis on things like water usage and waste and carbon emissions. And finally, people is about delivering results through a means that is both responsible and responsive to the needs of the company's communities, those internal to the company, but also those external to it. Nooyi put it nicely when she said to the company's shareholders and staff alike, "We are stewards of a great company with the opportunity to make a profit, but to do so in a way that makes a difference in this world." All of this brings us to a simple model that Nooyi placed at the heart of her leadership throughout her time in Pepsi and the companies before that also. She came to refer to it as her 5 C's of leadership, and they stand for this: competence, courage and confidence, communication, consistency, and compass. Competence, first and foremost, is about being really good at what you do. Damn good, as she liked to say. Competency is about taking time to master your craft. It means investing in learning and developing the skills that are needed to excel in your profession, but also staying open to continuously learning in order to adapt and remain relevant as things change. As Nooyi says in one of her many speeches on these 5 C's, remain curious. Keep asking questions like children do. Remain a lifelong learner. Courage and confidence is about developing the art of making decisions. It's the ability to take risks as we navigate the events life throws at you, and developing confidence in your own and others' abilities to deliver on those decisions. Taking risks doesn't mean doing so blindly though. Only by investing in your own personal knowledge and expertise can you develop the confidence and instinct to make smart, well-informed, well-timed decisions. Communication is the ability to develop a clear and compelling vision. But perhaps more importantly, it speaks to the importance of being able to communicate that vision in a way that motivates and inspires people. Nooyi encourages leaders to fully master the art of exceptional communication skills, both written and oral. It can be a skill that will last you a lifetime or remain a burden that forever holds you back should you not be able to do so. Consistency is about people coming to trust your action, to know your next likely turn of events and understand the rationale and the reason behind them. Unpredictability can cause chaos, so learn to be consistent in your decision making and in the communication that surround the decisions that you make. As Nooyi is known to have said many times before, it's okay to change your mind, but do so against a consistent framework. Which brings us finally to compass, to the moral compass we each have, our values and principles that shape who we are and guide our thought and action. Nooyi encourages each of us to take the necessary time to truly understand who we are And in doing so, learn to lean into these values at the times that our most precious decisions and actions are needed. Like all models we feature in this series, these are simple to wrap your head around, but less simple to put into practice. Which begs the question, where do you start with all this? Well, how about this for a starter of 10? Ask yourself the following 5 questions about your leadership of others. Number 1, am I genuinely great at what I do? In what ways could I get even better in my craft? Or number 2, how comfortable am I in taking risks? And do I do so with proper thought, consideration, and analysis of the surrounding detail? Or number 3, am I consistent in the way that I operate and in the way that I make decisions? Or does my unpredictability and my action around that unpredictability create confusion and chaos for those around me? Or number 4, am I able to inspire people through my communication? Have I created and communicated a vision that people can truly rally behind and where they genuinely want to do so? Or number 5, do I act in accordance with my moral compass? Are my values and principles known by others and known to me even? You know, Indra Nooyi didn't just profess these 5 C's, she lived them also. In accordance with continually adapting and learning herself, she evolved this model to feature 2 further principles in creativity and coaching. And if you want to go further with your self-reflection, how about asking yourself these 2 further questions? Like this: am I helping others to rise? In what ways am I investing in the development and nurturing of others? Or this: am I enabling my own and others' creativity to shine? How does my creativity show through in my work? And in what ways am I encouraging or enabling that in those that work around me? Indra Nooyi is one heck of a leader, and a truly inspirational one at that. We see that not just in what she achieved through her time at PepsiCo, but also through the honorary doctorates that she was awarded in her career. Perhaps her highest accolade was given to her by her country of birth. In 2007, shortly after taking up post as CEO of PepsiCo, she returned to India to receive the much coveted Padma Bhushan, India's 3rd highest civilian award. An award only given out to those who have achieved distinguished service of a high order. For a country of over 1 billion people, only 1,270 awards have ever been handed out. Now that's high praise indeed from her mother country. And on that note, feel free to check out more about Indra Nooyi yourself. There's links in the comments like normal. She's a fascinating person. There's loads to discover about her. And please feel free to come back and see more of our content. Find out more about the leaders and the models and their histories and how they've used these things to shape their careers and achieve amazing things. We love having you here with us.